What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Burndown YouTube channel. So today we're going to do something it's a little fun for me, and it might be informative for you guys. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Burndown YouTube channel. So we are still kind of in between on some stuff, and I don't want to make videos just to make videos. So I was kind of thinking of, what could I actually get done? What's something that I'd like to do that maybe I didn't really have time for? Like once I hit the ground running and I'm doing transmission parts and engine stuff, what won't I have time for? Because I have time, it's a beautiful day. And I was like, what I missed out on? Well, we missed out on, I should say. When I painted the Winnebago, I ran out of the gold, right? And there's this little guy right there. Boop, that thing. That's the air conditioner. And it's basically just a plastic cover. And when I started painting stuff, I was looking at it and I was like, man, how cool would it be to paint that thing? Just because it's ridiculous. And then you have this big golden unit right on top. And we started painting a bunch of stuff and I ran out. Well, I went to the store and we got a little bit more. So what we're gonna do today, so I'm gonna pull that cover off, we'll bring it down here, and we'll get to working on it. And I'll show you guys some quick basic stuff and fill you in on some paint work. So if you want to start tackling this stuff on your own, at least you'll have a better idea of how it's done and kind of why. So we'll see if we can touch on some of those things. You can leave comments, concerns in the comment section when we get there. But let me crawl up there and take that thing down. I'll bring you guys with me, but I'm gonna grab a handful of tools and we'll climb up there. I don't remember how it's attached. I think it's like a screwdriver, like a Phillips screw, I hope. But let's go snag that thing and we'll bring it down and we'll kind of go over the plan. All right, if I had to guess, I'm gonna go with one of these three tools, hopefully to take that off. So we don't have to climb up and down. And then on this thing, this bottom's kind of rotten, so the bottom's kind of weak, so I like to step up here. So, yeah, I don't know, this whole thing could probably come off. Hopefully it stays on. There it is. All right, winner, Phillips head screw. So, you, and not you, and, oh no, are you kidding? Oh, what are the odds of that? I climb up here, and the only tool I need falls out of my pocket. Let me go grab it. We'll take this thing off. It's just plastic. And then I'll bring you guys back when we're down there, and we'll set it down and I'll show you the plan. So we got it down, but not without a fight. It's funny because I should have turned it around and held the front, because climbing down, I stood on the bumper and reached up and pulled it, and it started to kind of come down, and I put my hand here and whack. So this thing is super brittle, fairly flimsy plastic. Really is all this thing is, excuse me. So Coleman, it's textured, it's dirty. So initially I was gonna sand this thing, right? But I think what we'll do is we're gonna wash it off. We'll spray it with the hose, get all the dirt out of it and dust, and then we are going to guide coat it and then just Scotch-Brite the hell out of it. It should be a pretty quick and straightforward deal, and then we can get on to priming and all that other stuff. But I will tell you this, your base layer is the most important layer, which is primer. And everybody just wants to half-ass primer and then do a good paint job. Well, it's all layers and it's foundation. It's like building a house on quicksand. If you're gonna half-ass the primer or body work, you might as well not even bother doing it, because it's gonna fall off. So it is important that you have the surface clean and you have it prepped properly. And here is the one point with me saying all this in the long fashion. There's two types of adhesion when it comes to painting. There's mechanical and there's chemical. And if you do it correctly, you're gonna get both, which is the best in my opinion. So mechanical adhesion would be a scratch. That's why you have sandpaper. If you look at it under a microscope, you're basically just putting scratches and things, and it roughs it up. It gives it a surface, it gives it tooth or bite, whatever term you hear people say. And the different grits you know, the bigger the grit on the sandpaper, the deeper the scratch. But on the flip side of that, you got to fill the scratch in depending on what your paint is. So a certain point rule of thumb that I like to do, this doesn't really qualify because it has texture and we're just trying to put color on it, but say you're trying to paint something, I usually like to take it up to at least a 400 grit to paint over, and then I do an epoxy or a sealer primer prior to base coat, so that way I get both worlds. So that would be your chemical adhesion. I'm having a hard time thinking, people. So your mechanical adhesion is a scratch. Your chemical adhesion would be like a bulldog additive or like a primer. Primer has an adhesive in it that helps it stick, especially like your epoxy. I mean, that's basically what epoxy is like kind of a glue and whatever, a sticky chemical, I guess, if you will. I don't know all the terminology for it. I just know kind of how to get it done. I'm sure somebody on here could chime in a bit better on that, but that would be your adhesive. And then Bulldog has like a thing called an adhesive promoter. You basically spray it on. It's not the right way to do stuff, by the way, but you spray that down and it basically gives it like a glue or like a binding agent, and then you put your base over that and it's supposed to kind of glue it down. So so in this instance, we're going to rough it up with the Scotch-Brite. It's going to be our sandpaper, although this thing is already textured, so it'll probably hold it pretty well, but we need to clean it off anyway and just make sure. So we're going to clean this thing down. We'll guide coat it, I think. I'll try guide coat a little piece and then we'll see if we can rub it off with the Scotch-Brite. I like to do that to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies. And then we will go ahead and prime it, base it, and then we will put some candy over it, and then hopefully some clear coat. We're just going to slam it all home. Usually you want to take your time. It's a really nice day out. The temperature's good. This is a small item. So, and it's sitting on top of the Winnebago. Even if you want to get up close to look at it, you still really can't. So we can slam this on home and throw it up there, and it's going to look magical because you're way more than 10 feet away. And I know I can make a 10-footer out of this. We'll just build a sandwich out of this thing real quick. So let's clean it all up. I'll show you the guide coat, and then we will get going. All right, I'll share this with you. This is guide coat. They sell it in the can like this, or they sell a dry powder. Everybody has a different preference. I like to spray stuff because you can kind of use it on stuff like this. Although this is not a good representation for the application. I tested it real quick thinking what would happen did happen, but I'll show you. You spray it and it goes on light, right? So here's a spot. That's all you need. You don't need to cover it, make it full black and ugly. You just, it speckles it on there. And then the plan is that you sand it off when all the dark is gone. It's flat and your surface is ready to go for sanding. Usually it's for sanding low spots and getting scratches and things out. Sometimes I like it for a panel prep, because that way if you covered this whole thing and then it was back to this color, you would know that you got every square inch is prepped and ready to paint. In this instance, I don't think you guys can see it, but it's textured. So when I rub that down, the guide coat's going to stay in that texture, and I don't want to sand the texture out of this thing. I mean, it's just some weak plastic. You can see it's already cracked and old. But for instance, you would rub this out and it would go away. So that's kind of how you use guide coat. We're going to do it a little bit improperly because I'm just going to scuff this thing down really good as best I kind of can. It already kind of has texture. The epoxy should stick if it's nice and clean. And it's on top of the Winnebago. We don't care so much about that. But if this was a nice panel, a fender or something people are going to look at, motorcycle, tank, whatever you wanted to do, you'd want to make sure you got every square inch of that taken care of. Or you could have delamination where the paint peels off and all that fun stuff, which we may have in this case, I'll be honest with you. But hopefully it's up there, nobody sees it, and maybe someone will just get gold glitter on their car behind us on the highway or something. So let me scrub this all down real quick as best I think it needs to be. And we'll get on to mixing some primer, and then we're gonna go wet on wet. So we'll shoot primer and then we'll mix the base after that, because it's hot enough out here that I can probably go back to back on the thing, because by the time I mix the other stuff down, it'll kick, and then we can make this thing silver and shiny, and then we'll make it gold. So now we clean that guy as best we can, and we feel happy with it that it's nice and clean. We'll get the primer out. So this is an epoxy primer, gray. So we're gonna go with this bad boy, 2-part. So it's 1, 2, and then it's kind of warm but not too warm, and it's a small part, or piece I should say. So we'll go with a medium reducer, medium. And this is your temperature control here. So if you're wondering why your stuff dries so fast, or say it runs on you, it's because you have the wrong reducer. So pay attention to the temperatures like you see here. And if it's 81 degrees, you need to step up to the next one or kind of cocktail it with a slow and a medium. because this stuff will kick off what it says. So if it's 64, this thing's gonna run. If it's 81, it's gonna kick off on you. So it's about 80 right now. So we'll run with this, and I should be able to keep it nice and wet and just run around this thing because it's, like I said, a small part. So we'll mix this up, and then make sure you got your mixing cups in the right ratio. Make sure you got new clean ones, not unlike me. I forgot that step. So we're gonna use used cups, which is not recommended. No, yeah, we're just doing a hokey job, but this is how you do it. You're just supposed to take a little more care when you're painting nice things. When you're painting the lid to a vintage Winnebago, you can just have some fun with it. So I'll show you guys how to mix these down, and that is about it. So I'll show you what the parts mean and all that. We'll get it mixed up, and this can sit here because it won't kick off immediately. It takes a little while. So while this is here, we'll use our prep solvent to really wipe that thing down, make sure it's good before we pull the gun out and shoot everything. So here's probably the most confusing thing about painting that most guys get confused with is the ratio, right? So you have this cup. It has all these numbers. It looks like garbage on here, right? So 1 to 1, 2 to 1, I'm reading it up here. 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, and so on. If you look on your paint, it's gonna have numbers on the side, right? This one, because you can thin it down more or have it thinned less for high build, the ratio is a 4 to 1, 4 to 1 to 1, or a 4, 1, 2. So the way these numbers work is the first number is always this product, right? Your second number is always a catalyst. So if it's a 2-part, it's always the product is the first one. So that's your 4, your 8, your 6, whatever it is. The majority of the parts is going to be your material that you're spraying or trying to get on the substrate. And the next number is going to be the catalyst. So this is a 2-part deal. So it's 4 parts of this and 1 part of the activator or catalyst. So when you get to the third part, if it's 411, 412, like we're going to shoot today, we're going to shoot it thinner, that would be your reducer. So 1, 2, 3 parts, right? So you get your substrate, you got to make sure it's catalyzed, and if it's too thick, you got to thin it down so you can shoot it properly. So the numbers on the cup reflect the same thing, right? So they have columns right here. So it's column 1, 2, 3. This one has 4, so that's a little confusing, but let's just do it this one for ease of explaining. So there's 3 columns here, right? It's 8 to 1. So if this was an 8 to 1 paint, you'd fill it up to the number 2 with the first one, the number 2 with the second one, and the number 2 with the third one, and you have an 8 to 1 mix. If it was only a 2-part deal, you could ignore the third column and it's just 8 to 1, right? Because you don't have the third part if you weren't going with reducer. 9 times out of 10 though, you're gonna put reducer in, and then that's what this 10 is. So if it was a 4 to 1 to 10, basically it's 4 to 1, and then you splash some of this in there to knock it down and make it sprayable. That's why they have the percentage there. And each cup is different. Whatever brand you get, this is high tech. I mean, I've used all kinds of different brands, but mainly you're looking for this part. The splash portion, you can basically eyeball that, splash it, and mix it and see the viscosity. You know, I've done it long enough that I kind of mix it around, pull the stick up, and go, hey, that'll probably spray. But today we're looking for a 4 to 1, and then technically it's a 2 because we're spraying as a sealer. This one doesn't have the 2, so we'll just fudge it, and I'll show you guys what I mean by just eyeballing it and going yay or nay. So we're gonna go 4 to 1, that is critical, and then the last column is thinning it down. So let's roll on this, I think, and then you got to kind of estimate how much material you think it's going to take to cover. This stuff always covers like a monster. All your primers are just perfect primers, right? You get to your bases and stuff, and sometimes it takes layers and layers to get it to cover, but this stuff is like spray it on and you're golden. So let's just go, we'll go with number 2. We'll see how that goes, and then I'll be spraying with my little baby gun because this is a small part. So let's mix it up. We'll do it live. Do it live. Hopefully you can see. It sounds kind of awkward, weird. Pop this dog. Look at that. Brand new. Smells delicious. And then let me mix this up. They all come like this. You got to mix it so the whole thing is consistent. You don't want this watery base on top. So I'll cut it here. We'll get this mixed. I'll show you what it looks like when it's mixed thoroughly. And then we'll actually get it sprayable. Alright, so here's what it looks like all mixed in. So for those of you wondering, like, why would you have to thin that down? Well, you're not shooting that through a paint gun, right? So that's why we thin it down, because it's thick. When you first pop the can, it looks watery, but that's because it's not mixed. So you mix all the stuff in. So this is what we're going to put in here in a 4-to-1, and then we're going to do the old splasheroo, because it's supposed to be like 4-1-2, but we'll go kind of right in between. As long as I can get it to spray out of the gun, we are awesome. So we're going to go to the 2. So hopefully you guys can see. If not, that's what we're trying to accomplish. Pour it till it hits the first 2 on the first row. Like so. Oh, I need to get stuff to wipe this down with. So we're on the first 2 right here. So 4, that's our 4 parts. And then 1 is this. Make sure you mix this up too. So this is our catalyst. This will, or activator, whatever you want to call it. And then we can take this to the next 2. And we stop. Bam. So now we have an activated paint. And we'll take it up to the 3rd one. Some medium reducer. And we're going to go 4-to-1-2. We want to hit that 2 mark. So we're a little over. Let's go halfway in between the 2 and 3 because it's supposed to be 4-to-1-2. We'll just mix it up. So this is another important tip, right? You want to dip all your stuff in. So you don't mix anything until you mix it all. I mean, I said that wrong. You don't mix anything until you've put everything in the cup. And you don't want to get in the habit of using this in back and forth, because if you take this out and you stick it here, you mix it around, you put it back, you're going to catalyze this and your whole pot is going to be junk, right? So when you wipe this off, if you put this in here like that, this stick is done. So what I like to do is cover this up so I can't make an easy mistake of one of those. And now we mix and mix until it basically looks like a heavy whipped cream. It's kind of the consistency we're looking for. And you can see already, see how watery that is compared to what we had going on that was in here. This gun's a little small, it's a 1/0 tip I think, so we need to get it pretty damn thin. That way it'll shoot through the gun. Yeah, so see that's pretty thin. This will go through the gun. I could probably be a little bit thicker than that because it is a primer. And also when you splash it up on the side, you can see when it runs down, see how no light's coming through? It's covering pretty good, so there's still some body to it. So these are all things that you just learn to pay attention to, and you can do that like if you had a silver stick or whatever, like a screwdriver, or use a stainless stick. Anyway, now I'm just rambling. Okay, so the thing is mixed up. Let me wipe that all down, throw some primer on it, pop, 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 and then we'll see how it covers. I'm just looking to cover it. We're not looking to just bury it in primer, because this is going to be the base for the base. So that way it's a nice even color, so my base turns out even, and also adhesion promotion. So we're not looking to build this up, we're just looking to cover it so it's gray. Then we'll move on to the silver base. So that thing's gray, it's pretty even. It's hot outside, so it's pretty well good to go. I took a minute and shot that in primer. I don't know if I have black for this thing, so maybe we'll kind of look in the cabinet. My goal is just to get this done today, but that was sitting there all willy-nilly under the car without paint on it, so at least if it just stays in primer, maybe we'll just leave that alone for today. But so this guy, it's all gray, so now we're gonna move on to base. This is base. The thing that's different with base is, unless it's a single stage, like this is a multi-stage, so it's a 2-part, so you do base coat, clear coat. This doesn't have an activator, it stays open. So the only thing that basically saves all this stuff is your clear coat. Or if it's a single stage, your clear coat is mixed in. In this instance, this is just a base, because we want to go base coat and then candy over the top of this and then clear coat. So let's open this up. So it's the same. Watch me spill this. Hold on. Okay, so here you go. You want a new stick? Don't put your other stick in this one. This is a silver base. So the funny thing with the candies is if you change the base, it changes the color. This is not the same base that I did the rest of the stuff in because that one's kind of expensive. This one was from my buddy Willie. So big shout out to Willie over there, NCS Coatings. And I just took in some silver that I had and said, here, fill this can up. So we're trying to keep it on a budget, keep it cheap, because people see paint and they all freak out and think it's terribly expensive. I think this whole can was like 20 bucks, and this will cover a lot more than you'd think, man. People don't think this goes very far, but if you do it properly, it will. So we'll mix this all down, get all that in there. So this is just a silver, nothing too spectacular. Probably could have gone a little more coarse than that, Willie, but we're okay. As long as it's silver, it'll give it the gold, and then again, we're gonna see it from far away anyway. So we'll mix this down. This is a 4-to-1 mix, same as that, but we want to use a new cup, which is I have here. And then that one, the other reason I shot that is we kind of mixed over on that. So like just the 2 on this was enough to do that and that thing. So just keep that in mind when you're mixing stuff down. That's where it gets wasteful, is if you don't really know. So on this one, it's gonna take multiple coats, so we'll do the same number 2. And then I'm gonna have to shoot that multiple times. This is basically just a one and done deal. So technically you might wanna do another round of primer on that if you really cared. So look for a 4-to-1. You should probably use clean cups too if you also really cared. Go to the number 2. Bam, one-handed, Big Willie style. And then again with our medium, I think it's still kind of the same temperature out. And then this time we just go to the second column, the 2. That's basically it. That is our paint. And then this one, it's not as crazy if you went from here to there because there's no activator, so you're not going to catalyze that or hurt nothing. Although if you did stick activator in there, I believe it will kick off, by the way. So don't do that. And then we mix it around. This is like the best part of painting, is mixing it for some reason. It's just hypnotic, and you get to watch all the colors blend and see how pretty it looks. Look at that. Looks like somebody melted the Tin Man down. So this is still, it's a little thick. I might splash just a little more reducer in there. Yeah, give her a little splash. Splish splash of roux. Because we're shooting it out of a real thin gun. So I want to make sure it's thin enough to go out of the gun. If we got to come back for extra coverage. So what happens when you thin it down, you know, it doesn't cover as well. So that's part of the issue. Yeah, that's good better. For the little gun. If you had a big gun, 4-to-1 mix is just fine. But it's all preference and how you do it, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's kind of like cooking. You can get a recipe. Some people cook better than other people, right? So let's shoot this down. I'll show you what it looks like. So here is the silver space shuttle. I don't know if the color picks up because the green above it, so it's just a bright silver now. It doesn't have a lot of flake in the thing, so the other one's a little more brilliant, the other base coat. This one's just like silver, but it'll still work for what we're doing. And again, it may not look exactly like that, but we're gonna be up there, so you can't really compare. You'll just see that it's gold up top, so I'm okay with it. But if I was concerned, I would have shot a little coarser silver on the base. But it's even for the most part. There's a little bit of stuff up here, but you can't see that. Mainly I was concerned about like this area and kind of the side, because that's all you're really gonna see from the ground. So on to the final is candy, which is this. This is a candy concentrate. Hopefully we have enough in here. And then this is an inner coat. So basically this is like paint without any of the stuff in it. It has everything but pigment, I'm pretty sure. So all you do is this is clear. I'll show you guys, we mix this up. And then this is where it gets artsy fartsy. There's no rules to the game. Once you mix this, you can put whatever you want, however you want to do it in this. This is just like a carrier. So this is gonna mix out it damn near 1-to-1. The expensive, nice House of Color stuff, I like to go 1-to-1. This is a little cheaper. This is from my boy over there. And I like to go a little thicker on this. It seems to work a little bit better. So not quite a 1-to-1. It's like a 1 to, yeah, it's almost a 1-to-1, maybe like a 2-to-1, but we'll see. I'll mix it down. I'll show you guys what it looks like, but this will be pretty damn thin. And I'm also going to run slow reducer because I had a little bit of issue with that kind of modeling. So it's telling me the temperature is getting a little hot. So we'll put these dudes back and then we'll go with a slow reducer. So this is crash course stuff. Hope you guys are kind of getting it, but let me get it all set up and then we will go with the candy. And then on the side, I'm going to shoot that other one. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to confuse you guys, but I did find some single stage hot rod black. So we'll just finish up that that piece I made for the boom. We'll kill two birds with one stone, and then I don't have to make a separate video on painting it and bore you guys. We'll just do all the paint all in one shot. The expensive inner coat is like crystal clear. This is like milky kind of, but we're gonna mix it down really thin, and it basically clears up. Again, if you're doing high-end stuff and it matters, you know, you can use the other stuff. But for like what we're doing, you'll see. We'll shoot this down. It'll look fine, and it's just. Technically, it's actually not even a cheaper alternative. I can't even lie. It's just I have to drive to coast, which is further away, so with gas prices, this is a cheaper alternative, but the real stuff is crystal clear. So if you're gonna go candy, just buy all the House of Color stuff, don't fudge it. But anyway, it's still an inner coat. That's what they call it for House of Colors as well. So we're gonna go down on a 1-to-1, and then this stuff, we dust it on for the most part, but you'll still need quite a bit because we gotta do at least a few rounds for sure. So we are gonna go, and you can see too on the numbers, like this is a 2 and then that's a 2 because you're mixing a lot of it. So we'll go to a 3. Let's go 3. A lot of this is gonna end up being reducer. So there's our 3, and then here's our other 3 way up here. And then we swapped it out for a slow. So what this means is if the temperature is high, it flashes off slower. So it's almost backwards of what you'd kind of think how they would label things. So we'll take this up to a 3. That's at a 1-to-1, so this will be pretty dang watery. But this is more art when you're spraying it versus the other way around. And you want really high overlap so you don't stripe stuff out. And you don't need to like blast it on. You want to do multiple rounds. Like the silver, I just blasted that on and then just get it up to color. This is more artsy fartsy, and it takes several rounds to get it up to coloring to get it even. So yeah, it's still kind of milky. Whatever. It's good enough for government work, right? I can't even remember. I think I did use this on the Bago. I didn't film when I painted, but I don't think I just think I used this inner coat because it's what I had. Now this, check this out. So this is Pagan Gold. It's like, some of the stuff's like ink and some of the stuff's like, I don't know. Here's the other thing too. You want to get rid of your stick. You don't want to put the stick in there when you're doing this stuff, because the stick will soak up your concentrate, and this is where all the money is, so you don't want to soak up the concentrate. And then I have no idea what the proper way to do this is, like if you do it by weight or however you do it, but look at that, it doesn't even look gold, right? When you mix it around, it's like a super ugly color, but you can see when you splash it up on the side, and then when you pull the silver out, you get an idea of what the color, like the concentrate, actually looks like. It's funny, it looks brown, kind of ugly in there, but once you pull it out, you can see, whoop, like a gold yellow. So I think this might be a little more yellow gold than what's over there, but again, it's on top of the RV. I'm okay with it. We don't have to get too crazy. So that's cool. That looks good. So what we'll do now is we'll load it in the gun, and then I'll just make a bunch of passes on it. So I'll time lapse it. I've never time lapsed doing candy work, so that'll be fun, especially candy outside in the driveway. Besides those things, actually I painted both of those in the driveway candy, so yeah, how bad could it be? All right, it's been a little bit. Let's check on the pieces. So drum roll. Ta-da! Look at this beautiful, beautiful cover. Yeah. Put some little monkey snot glue on there, glued her back together. Good as new. What a bad mamma jamma. Look at that thing. So, it turned out pretty good, in my opinion, especially considering it just goes and lives up there. And then the color, it's not too bad. It's a little more like yellow. You probably can't really tell in the video, but that's a little more goldish, it's a little more yellow. So whatever is in that base, I'm gonna have to figure out, because that base is expensive, so I'll have to get some silvers or something, maybe tint it with like a little black or something, or figure out how to get it to knock it down, because I like that gold better. But again, this is up top, so you're not gonna really notice all that bad. See? Yeah. So that is that. I'm gonna clean up, and it is actually 4th of July today, so that's why I didn't have video. Well, mainly because I was kind of lazy, let's be honest. But happy belated 4th of July. We got that thing done. I might as well show you this. We just shot this thing on the old trash can, so it's good enough for government work. And then this goes on the bottom back over there. So that is it. I had to clean up. We're gonna go to a buddy's house. He has like a big water balloon fight and like a big water slide thing, so I want to get out here and get this done today. I wasn't planning on actually painting this piece, and if you're wondering, yes, I just shot it right here on the trash can with the flies and everything else that are cruising around, and she's good. So get out there and paint. Don't worry about it. Just make stuff happen. If you run it, if you screw it up, sand it off and try it again. So we'll get that thing buttoned up, put up there. We'll get this thing buttoned up, put up there, and then we're gonna continue the week. Hopefully some parts and stuff come in. I'm gonna have lots of cool stuff to share with you guys. I'm gonna be busy this week, so I'll try to get videos done, but I'm not gonna force them. If I can't get it done, we can't get it done, and I'll bring you videos as I can. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. Till next time, I'm out.